The EU has answered, "Stop killing games." No, it did not pass a law forcing publishers to preserve games. But after more than 1.29 million verified supporters pushed the issue to Brussels, the fight has officially changed. Did gamers win? Kind of, but this is not the victory screen yet. First, a correction that changes the whole debate. The campaign was not asking companies to run every server forever. Its EU initiative, officially called Stop Destroying Videogames, asked publishers to leave games in a reasonably functional state when support ends, without requiring ongoing publisher resources. Think offline mode, peer-to-peer play, community hosting, or another practical exit plan. Modern games can depend on publisher servers for multiplayer, events, cloud systems, anti-cheat, updates, and sometimes simple authentication. When those servers disappear, players can lose part of a game or the entire thing. The Commission itself acknowledged that this can leave consumers without access to something they paid for and spent time in. This was not just a viral hashtag. The initiative reached 1,294,188 verified statements of support and met national thresholds in 24 EU member states. That triggered formal examination by the European Commission, a meeting with organizers, a European Parliament hearing, and a parliamentary debate. Gamers forced this issue into the room where policy gets made. Here is the blunt answer. On June 16, 2026, the Commission said it could not propose a legal obligation requiring publishers to keep games playable after commercial support ends. So there is no new EU law demanding an offline patch, private servers, or a preservation handover for every game. If that was the win condition, gamers did not get it. The Commission pointed to intellectual property rights, third-party licenses, confidential technology, engineering costs, and cybersecurity concerns. Industry groups also warned that removing server dependencies, anti-cheat, or live service systems could require major rework. The EU's position is that a blanket rule could be disproportionate across very different kinds of games. But this was not a total shutdown. The Commission officially recognized that games can become partly or entirely unusable when publisher support ends. It also committed to bring together industry and consumer representatives by the end of 2026 to explore an end-of-life code of conduct. That is not legislation, but it is a new pressure point the industry cannot pretend does not exist. The Commission says a voluntary framework could encourage clearer storefront labels about potential shutdowns, better sunsetting standards, and preservation partnerships with cultural heritage institutions. In plain English, players could get more honest warnings before buying, and publishers could be pushed to plan how a game ends before they launch it. But voluntary is the key word. The details will decide whether this matters. The Commission says existing consumer law may help in some cases. Providers must disclose important contract duration, termination, and functionality information. A shutdown that comes earlier than consumers could reasonably expect may, depending on the contract and circumstances, create grounds for remedies such as a proportionate refund. But a refund cannot bring back a world, a community, or a game's history. Consumer groups told the Commission that players usually want access, not compensation. They also argued that some single-player games only contact a publisher for authentication and could remain functional without permanent support. Industry representatives answered that unsupported online environments can create security, moderation, safety, and licensing problems. Both sides agree the current system is messy. They disagree on who should fix it. Watch 2 dates and 2 processes. By the end of 2026, the Commission intends to start the industry and consumer exchange on a code of conduct. It also plans a report on the Digital Content Directive, including the discontinuation of digital content and services. There are still no binding EU court rulings specifically settling how that directive applies to discontinued games, so this story is still moving. Final score: gamers won visibility, a formal EU response, and a promised conversation about better shutdown standards. Gamers did not win a binding preservation law or a guarantee that every purchased game will survive its publisher's exit. This is not game over for Stop Killing Games. It is the moment the campaign went from a player protest to a real policy battle. What should publishers be required to leave behind when a game dies?